بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to the book of Fiqh, and today inshallah we're starting with the book of Zakah. After finishing off the book of prayer, next comes Zakah. And again, some scholars start with the Zakah, other scholars start with Siyam. Even the book, Ibn Rushd itself, his book, in some manuscripts, the book of fasting comes first. But most of them, they have the book of Zakah first. So in this book, we will discuss these main topics. The one who pays it, who should pay it. The types of money that are subject to Zakah. The amount should be paid. If we say you have to pay Zakah on this money, what should you pay? About the timings, when is it due? And finally, we have the recipients of the Zakah, to whom we pay the Zakah. First, we will start with its obligation. Because when you tell someone you have to pay Zakah, why? That's the first question. Why I have to? It is a pillar of Islam. Says who? That's in the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And before that, it is in the Quran. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Establish prayer, pay Zakah. And Zakah, again, it means purification. It is growth. It purifies your money. When you give part of it to those needy, to those recipients that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specified. And the beauty about Zakah is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who guided us to the people that they deserve the Zakah. It was not given to any prophet, to any messenger, to determine to whom the Zakah is given. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those 8 recipients that are mentioned in Surah At-Tawbah, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ فِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. Those are the 8 recipients. Okay, now we know Zakah is obligatory. But on whom? Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, establish prayer and pay Zakah. Who pays the Zakah? Everyone? Anyone? Scholars differed. They agreed on certain conditions that the payer of the Zakah has to fulfill. They agreed that the Zakah is obligatory on every adult, sane, free Muslim, who owns the money. He has full possession over the money for a period of time. If these conditions are fulfilled, then the Zakah is mandatory. He has to pay the Zakah. If one of them or more are missing, then there is disagreement amongst scholars. Now, again, if we say, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, Salah is mandatory. On who? Who should pray? Every adult Muslim, sane, adult sane Muslim. More.
Woman on her menses can't pray, so we can still transmission how to say it.
These are the only conditions. Adult, Muslim, sane. That's all. Zakah becomes mandatory. The prayer. For the prayer, we have only these conditions. Then, those people that they have exceptions, they are exempt. But in general, these are the conditions. The slave, does he have to pray? Yes, he has to pray. The sick, who's unable to stand, he still has to pray. While here, it is different when it comes to Zakah. We have more conditions. So it is not on everyone. What if you don't have money to begin with? Then you don't pay Zakah. So it is on every adult, sane, free Muslim who owns the money for a period of time. So it is not only by owning the money. Again, we pay taxes for our income, even if you ended up having a loss. Islam is on the savings for 1 year. So when we say every adult, what about the young? Does he have to pay zakah or no? There is difference. The same thing. Does he have to pay the zakah or no? It is different. The free. What about the slave? Does he pay the zakah or no? All these are issues of difference amongst scholars. But if, again, they agreed on this criteria. If he is adult, he is sane, he is free, he is Muslim, he owned the money for a period of time, the zakah is obligatory. They disagreed on the orphan, the insane, and the slave. Regarding the orphan, someone is 9 years old. He has savings account or checking account in the bank, and there are $2,000 in this account. Does he pay the zakah or no? Why? He's not adult. What if he has $2 million? You don't pay zakah if there are $2 million in his bank account. We're talking about zakah. We're not talking about charity. You don't pay zakah?
He doesn't have to.
We're talking about obligation.
No, there's no obligation.
There's no obligation. Then why not we make all the properties in the name of the children, and there will be no zakah at all?
That's cheating.
Cheating? Why? There are many people, they like to write their own properties in the name of their children.
That's what we do in America.
So there is no zakah then. Someone has 4 or 5 houses and he has 4 children. Every house is in the name of one of the children. His and his children are living in one house, and 4 houses are saved. So you don't pay zakah.
Yeah, but we're talking about the orphan.
Okay, the orphan and the young. You and your money to your father. What this has to do with our issue?
His money belongs to his father.
So if does his father have to pay zakah or no? That means there is zakah.
We got to differentiate between trickery, fraud, and
No, it is not a fraud, but this is what's happening. People are writing the properties in the name of the children. What if he has $10 million, $100 million? You say there is no zakah? It is his money. Now, there is a difference between being able to act and to do anything with this money and saying it is yours. It is his. But there are guardians that will decide this money goes here, this money goes there. The majority of scholars said there is zakah on this money. Zakah is the right of the poor, regardless of the one who owns the money. Once the conditions are satisfied, there is zakah. This man or this young had the money for that period of time, there is zakah. It is beyond the nisab, there is zakah. There is a hadith from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, اتجروا في أموال اليتامى لا تأكلها الصدقة. Trade, make transactions in the money of the orphans. Let not the zakah eat up that money. But few scholars said there is no zakah. Why? Based on the analogy. Does the young have to pray? 7 years old? No. So zakah is ibadah, right? It is ibadah. So how you ask him to do ibadah while he is not liable yet? The pen is lifted. But this is again not a correct or a sound qiyas. Why? What if this baby or this youngster, this kid, he went and killed someone? Do we say there is nothing on him? He's a kid. What if he destroyed your car? He's a kid. What do you do?
You have to, justice has to be done.
How? That's the question. We're seeking justice. He's a kid. The guardian did not destroy your car. He doesn't even know what happened. It was the kid.
That's not bad. The guardian should not be bad.
Exactly. This is ibadah, and at the same time this is financial right attached to it.
So in other words, they're free from anything they owe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they owe anything to humans.
Between humans, of course. The kid is still liable. If not him, his guardians. Same thing with the zakah. Now, the same thing with the insane. Again, if you say the insane is not asked to pray, the pen is lifted, how come you ask him to pay zakah? But we say there is a guardian, and if he has money, there are many insanes, and they have millions and billions of dollars. And if you say there is no zakah, what will happen? The right of those needy people is lost. What about the slave? Is there zakah? How?
He has the ability to eventually buy himself his freedom, right? So he has to own money. How can he buy?
He is a slave.
Yeah, no, but can he pay for his own freedom?
He doesn't have money.
No, but
Well, no one would choose to be slave if he's able to become free, but he's still slave.
Anything he owns belongs to his master.
As long as he's slave. He's owned by his master, right? So is there zakah? Yes? Well, there are three opinions. One opinion says there is no zakah at all. Why? Because he doesn't own anything. He's a slave. He himself is owned by the master. Another opinion says there is zakah. If he possessed wealth, there is zakah on it. Then a third opinion in the middle, it says the master pays the zakah, it is in the possession. It depends on how much he is free, how much he is slave. Or once he is free, he pays the zakah. What about the Christians, the non-Muslims? Do they pay the zakah? No. All scholars agreed on that. They differed only in one type. The Arab Christians of Taghlib. At the time of the Messenger ﷺ, there was a tribe, Banu Taghlib, in Arabia. Based on a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ asked the companions to take the zakah from them, from Banu Taghlib, just like the believers, just like the Muslims. But the majority of scholars say there is no zakah. Why there is no zakah? What do they pay? They pay the jizya. They don't pay anything else, even if they have millions. Unlike the Muslims, they have to pay the zakah. That's the only type. And now, alhamdulillah, we don't have this tribe. Even if we have people that they could track their ancestry back to Banu Taghlib, they are Muslims. So this issue is irrelevant now. We don't need to discuss it. So these are the types of people that they have to pay the zakah. And these are the types of people that scholars differed on whether they pay the zakah or no. Now, another important issue. If we say zakah is obligatory, what about someone who has a debt? You have $5,000. 1 year passed. And we say the nisab is approximately 1,500. Is there zakah or no? There is. But you owe a friend $4,000.
When is it due?
The $4,000 after 2 months. There is zakah. Why?
Because the money's not due now.
What money?
The debt is not due.
The debt is not due, but now you pay the zakah and you end up paying $4,000 and you have nothing.
Maybe you could pay the debt early.
What if the debt is greater than the money that you possessed? You have $5,000, the debt is not due, it is 2 more months, but you owe $6,000. Do you pay zakah?
Yes.
You still pay zakah.
Because you're not in debt right now.
Again, if you hold it, then you have to pay zakah. If you pay it to the person early, then you're below the nisab.
It's your money,
Still
right?
there,
So you still have to pay for it.
The beauty about the book of zakah, you have always to think as payer and as receiver. And in zakah, there are few texts, few evidences, and you need to make analogy based on these evidences. And that's why if you want to test someone in the fiqh, you want to examine his understanding, you ask him about the issues of zakah. Prayer, fasting, there are many evidences, but here in zakah, since it is transactions, you need fiqh, you need understanding. So now you say he pays zakah, right? He possessed the money. He had ownership of the money for 1 year. But after 2 months, he's going to pay $6,000. So he will need more than the money he already has.
What if he dies the next day?
Again, what if he dies next day?
That's still,
He has to pay zakah.
But he still has to pay the debt.
you don't know what he's gonna.
Well, the debt is in 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's not in debt right now.
He doesn't have enough to pay the debt anyways right now.
What if he has?
No, that's not the.
Then he pays zakah.
What if the zakah is due on the same day that he has to pay off his debt?
The debt comes first.
The debt comes first.
He pays what he can with the debt.
Again, he owes 6,000, and he had 5,000
Then the whole year didn't complete.
for a whole year.
No, but that day that hasn't completed yet. So then, if he gets rid of the 6,000, he hasn't completed the year.
No, it is completed. It is a year.
Then he pays the zakah.
He pays the zakah, and from where he will get?
He satisfies his debt. If there is left, he can pay zakah.
So that's the issue. If you have a debt and you have money beyond the nisab, do you pay the zakah or no? What if this money, again, another example. Someone has $10,000 and he has a debt of $5,000, which is due. Both are due. Do you deduct the debt and you pay the zakah on the $5,000 that is left, or you pay the zakah on the $10,000 that he has possession for a year, and then you tell him you have to pay $5,000?
You pay on the 5,000, you pay a debt because that does not belong to you.
No,
That belongs to the person who
Actually, that might not even yours if you owe it.
Is the debt due yet?
the zakah is a higher priority.
Yeah.
The zakah is more higher than
It's
the
not even
debt
your money, though.
Why?
because it's a right for Allah.
It is the right of Allah. The zakah is the right of Allah.
And then the debt is the right.
But the right of Allah on what? On your money or the money that you owe to people?
No, the money that you owe to people.
You have debt now.
Yeah, but then the zakah is more like if you prioritize your obligations, the zakah will be higher than a debt.
The zakah is higher than debt. Now, do I pay zakah on your money or on my money?
Yeah, but right now it's your money until you then once you pay out, once you've done that, then you have to deal with the debt.
So zakah always has to be paid.
In that scenario, not always in this scenario.
We're talking about yet.
Yeah, this
That-
you're saying the day that
The debt should be.
he owes $10,000 and he owes $5,000 the same day he owes zakah.
Yeah.
So it pays the
Or the debt is due 2 days ago, but he delayed it, he did not pay it, and the time of zakah came also.
That's different now.
You know, if this is true, then wealthy people can trade $1 million once a year to avoid the zakat. Here, I'll let you borrow $1 million. You pay me in a year, and you do the same.
No, they agreed. If you're going to trick, you're going to play games, zakah should be taken, and when it's taken forcefully, it is taken half the money, not only 2.5%.
Somebody has to pay the car on the debt.
Yeah.
Either the person who has the debt has to pay it, or the person who will get the money has to pay it.
Okay, so here's the thing. Now, scholars have two opinions. One opinion says zakah is form of ibadah. It is worship. So once the conditions are satisfied, you have to pay the zakah. Regardless, you owe 5,000, you owe 10,000, you have to pay the zakah on that money that you possessed for 1 year. This is the ibadah. You fulfill the conditions, you pay the zakah. Other scholars said the zakah, although it is ibadah, it is the right of the money. So you deduct any money that you owe before you pay the zakah. So in this scenario, if you have $10,000 and you owe $5,000, you ignore the $5,000 debt and you pay the zakah on the $5,000.
That's what it not do. That's what the debt not do. You just ignore what you owe, and you pay on what's left.
Yeah.
If the debt's not due,
Whether it is due or not due.
go for it.
But scholars differentiated on the debt that is paid in installment payments later. Like someone has car payments or later payments, that is a payment in 20 years. And if you collect all this payment, it is like $100,000, so you'll never be able to pay the zakah. No, that is different. But they are talking about the zakah when there is a debt that is recent or it is due. So you understand the reason of their difference? It is whether it is ibadah or the right of the money. If it's ibadah, it doesn't matter. As long as the conditions are satisfied, you pay the zakah. But if it's right of the money, then you take out the money that you don't own, you don't have possession over, and you pay the zakah. Another scenario for the debt, which is very important also. I have $5,000. And one of you came asking me for loan. For a long term, 3 years. 3 years. And I gave $3,000. For how much? 3 years. What about this money? Now I still left with what? $2,000. The next year came. 1 year elapsed. There is zakah. I need to pay zakah. Now, after 3 years, what will happen? I will get the 3,000. Now, how much I have? 2,000. How much should I pay for the zakah? What do I calculate?
Because you know you're going to have that as extra money, and you're not going to be using it anyways, since it's extra money. You gave it away, and then you paid on the top. Because you know you're going to get it back.
Are you sure that you're going to get it back?
Yeah, you do.
What if the guy dies?
Online, are you with us?
I think if you go with the option too, then you have to pay. If you go with the option one, then you pay.
Is the first opinion the Hanafi opinion?
Yes.
In case you pay. So.
Okay. This is the case again. How much do you pay for the zakah? On the 2,000 or on the 5,000?
2,000.
Depending on which opinion you're going. If you're going with the opinion one before, then it seems like you don't have to pay zakat on 3,000. But if you go in opinion two, in the first case, then you have to pay zakat on 5,000. Because somebody has to pay zakat on that 3,000, either the lender or a.
Someone has to pay the zakah on this 3,000, right?
No, because what if it keeps changing
The
hands?
lender.
It belongs to you.
It belongs to you.
Yeah.
When? Now it is not in your hand.
Yes, but it still belongs to you. It is still yours. Because you're going to receive it. If you are sure that you're going to receive it, then you pay on the.
How you are sure?
Because you made a contract.
Okay, how you are sure?
You made a contract.
Allah knows.
So if you have a guarantor, until you
Well, you don't have real assurance unless you have other property. Because other than that, whatever confirmation documents you have, all this could disappear. Something could happen,
Is there some-
right?
Still pay on 5,000.
You still pay on the 5,000.
Because that.
If that's the case, would you ever give a loan to anyone?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Why would I pay zakah on money that I don't have?
You'll get it back.
Now it is with the other one, and the other one may make more money with it. Imagine if the sum is larger. If it's $50,000, again, you don't have it, and the other one has it, and he may make out of this 50,000, $100,000 for 3 years. Because remember, now it is 3 years, so I have to pay the zakah every year. What if it was $100,000, and the term was for 10 years? Okay? The term is 10 years. Are you going to pay the zakah every year on these 10 years? What if on the 9th year, the money is gone, the guy is gone, there is nothing, and you already paid zakah for 9 years? Reward with Allah. So you still pay the zakah.
No. That's
No one said.
it has
Yeah, I
to
heard
be
someone say that.
possession.
I heard someone say that.
So what do you think? Would you do it? Would you do it? Again, I'm asking you as a payer, not only as a receiver. You have always in the issue of the zakah to think both ways. You don't only think as a receiver, yeah, you have to pay. What if it's you? We don't pay even $1 unless we have to. We keep money. So here's the thing. You have $100,000 and you gave it as a loan for 10 years. Do you pay the zakah on it or not?
Can you make an agreement with the borrower that, look, I'm lending you this, but you're the one who has to pay zakah?
No.
He could use it one day and then it doesn't have
Can I make a
You have
contract?
to have it for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You let someone borrow it. Next year, that person has to pay zakat, and every year until he gives it back to you, then you wait 1 year with the money, then you pay zakat.
Okay. What about the borrower?
The borrower has 1 year without zakat. Then the year after.
Yeah, now we go back to what? The previous issue. That goes back to the previous issue. But this issue, again, this issue, when you give money, and that money is a debt, whether you will get it or no. You don't know. Some scholars differentiated. They said, if you're sure you get it, then you pay the zakah. If you're not sure, then you don't pay the zakah. Of course, all of them agreed, if you have the money in possession for 1 year, you pay the zakah. But this is the scenario. You don't have the money, you gave it as a loan. And this money, someone has to pay the zakah. Now, if you say this money, you as a borrower, I got $100,000, but it is not mine. It is the one that gave it to me. It is his money. I'm just using it. He should pay the zakah, but it is not his money. In his possession. So if it's for 1 year, we go back to the previous issue. Again, do you pay zakah on your debt or no? Okay, let's go back. This is the issue again. You have the money, you gave it to someone as a loan. Do you pay the zakah on it? Some scholars said yes. Very few scholars, the ones that said you pay the zakah. Other scholars said you pay the zakah only for 1 year. One time only. Because again, the term could be long, 5 years, 10 years. Imam Malik rahimahullah said, once you get the money back, you pay the zakah for 1 year. For 1 year. Another opinion says, when you get the money, you pay the zakah on the previous years. Okay, the last opinion, again, there are many opinions here, and that's why this is an important issue. The last opinion says, once you get the money, you start over. After 1 year, you pay the zakah. And the average or the fair opinion here, in the middle, in between, is the opinion that you pay the zakah for 1 year, or once you get it. Because you don't know, maybe you are paying zakah every year, and you will never get it. Okay? That's the issue of the zakah on debt. The next issue we have,
So there was 4 last one.
5.
The opinions are based on that there is no surety of you will get the money in these 5 years.
Not really, sort of. Now, a similar example, again, why these issues are issues that we're discussing? Because who has possession? Who has the full ownership? If you don't own that money, you don't pay zakah. You pay only on what you own. Same thing if you have a leased property. Like what? In their time, they did not have real estate like we have. They had houses that they used to rent. But in our time, or in their time, they had like trees, for instance. Okay? I have a farm, 5 acres. And you leased that farm. This farm, these 5 acres, what do they have? They have 1,000 palm trees. And those palm trees, what do they produce? They produce like 10,000 pounds of dates. You understand the issue now? There are 10,000 pounds of dates every year. And I own the land, but it is leased to you. You leased the land for 5 years. These 10,000 pounds of dates, who pays the zakah on it?
The one who's leased both of it.
Both.
He has to pay on this 10,000, but the other one he has to pay the lease.
You understand the issue? Okay, so who pays the zakah?
For the
Both pays the zakat. The one who
Both.
owns the land pays on the produce that he harvested, and the one who owns the land pays
on the rent.
on the rent on the.
We're not talking about the rent, that's money. We're talking about property here. You're getting benefit out of the property.
And the one who leases it pays the zakat when it's harvested.
But again, the one that has the fruit, he doesn't own it. Who owns the tree?
You're not paying on the tree.
You pay on
on
the
the property.
On the front.
On
When
the-
you lease the tree,
on
The
the-
guy doesn't own the guy doesn't own the fruits.
So on the one who owns
The fruits.
the fruits. And that's the opinion of the majority. Another opinion says it is on the one who owns the land. Because the one who owns the land, he automatically owns whatever comes from it. Another issue. You have $10,000 in the bank. Today is due for zakah. in Ramadan, the 10th of Ramadan, people want to pay zakah in Ramadan. So you came to the bank, you took the money out of this $10,000, $250. Once you went out of the bank, you lost the money. Or someone took it. Stolen. Or you lost it. You are prepared to pay the zakah. And you took the money. But eventually it was not paid. Someone took it. It is lost. What do you do, Yahya? You still pay the zakah, right?
You pay it on.
It's a right. It's a right.
Yeah, 10,700.
That
Right,
right.
but
Nine thousand.
Yeah, but that's still.
regardless, it's the right.
Every action is on your account.
Again, as I told you, remember, you are now payer. So I'm giving you an example on my limits, 10,000. If you have millions and it is $100,000 that is stolen, not $200, it is $1 million that is stolen or lost. If you say you still pay the zakah, then you're not paying 2.5%. What you're paying? 5%.
You do your part.
No, because you didn't pay 2.5% for zakat. You was just like if someone stole it the day before, then it's on.
No, that's different. Why? Because here, zakah became obligatory now. 1 year passed.
You did your part. You do your part.
So you don't pay the
No,
zakah.
you did your part. Yeah, you did pay your zakah.
You did pay.
But then it didn't.
So you don't have to pay again. That's my question.
Yeah, you don't pay again.
What about the poor people? What's their fault? They are waiting for the zakah. And they did not get anything.
That was their qadr.
That's the qadr. Why don't you say to yourself, it is the qadr of Allah that this is stolen, so you have to pay again.
Right. It's your brother, it's lost. You didn't pay it. You tried to pay it, but you didn't pay it.
No, you did something that you paid.
So if you did not pay it, don't you have to pay it?
Yes. No, you did
So you still pay again.
3, 4, 5 times until it gets paid.
3, 4, 5 times. So you end up...
You're the poker.
But then
Think of our time nowadays. If you tell the owner, I sent you the check, and the owner says, I'm sorry, but I received nothing.
then that stands. You have to pay the check again. You can check the bank account. Did it get paid? It matters when you get paid, not when you try to pay.
But what if the bank confirmed that the check was sent and there was something in the middle? So you did your part. Would the owner still charge you for late fee?
Maybe not.
Yeah.
No, on rent.
You still pay charge of it.
Although you did your part.
You can take it to civil court.
It doesn't matter. It has to
You
get paid.
can take it to
Yeah.
civil court.
You can.
In this case, we're talking about money that's lost. So then you don't pay zakat on 10,000. The second time you pay zakat on 9,750. The third try you pay zakat on 9,500 because the money is gone.
Yeah, and every time you are losing, what? Again, you lost $100,000.
This is color. You didn't pay zakat. You tried to, and then Allah took your money, and then
So you pay again.
absolutely.
Again, because it's like almost
If
free.
you tried to, if
Scholars differed.
you tried to pray, you didn't.
Some scholars said as Umar, because this is the right of the poor. They did not get the right, you still have to pay. Other scholars said no, as long as you did your part, you tried, you did nothing, that's the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are not asked to pay again. Other scholars differentiated. They said if he delayed or if he was lenient, he did not take precautions, like the zakah was due and he delayed it, he did not pay it, so he's responsible. Maybe if he did not delay it, the zakah was paid. So there are again 3 opinions. Opinion says you have always to pay it. It did not reach the poor, so you have to pay it. Another opinion says you don't have to pay it. You did your part, you did your job, you tried your best, and that's the best of you could do. You don't pay the zakah.
So in a scenario like you paid the zakat, in the first case, you paid the zakat, a lot of you paid the zakat to an organization. That organization account got frozen, doesn't really reach the poor. Then do they have to pay?
That's a good scenario, and it happened. And that's the problem when we have middlemen. And that's why it is recommended always to pay the zakah directly. You know the poor, you give him the zakah. But what if there is a middleman organization? You paid the zakah to that organization. And you know they did not have time to distribute it. And the organization was shut down. It was closed. The money was frozen. So you know in your heart that your money did not reach the poor. Would you pay the zakah again? It happened here in the United States. It happened.
If you know that organization is not responsible, then you
Yeah, the organization seems everything is fine, and
did your part. Yeah, you did your part.
but again, the poor did not receive the money.
Same thing as you did your part, like, but you can't say, oh,
Well, are you allowed to pay it to an institution, or it only?
Yeah, in the time of the Messenger ﷺ, there was the collector of the zakah,
Yeah. And so if the collector
and this collector, the money was lost from him. Thugs came, robbers, and they took everything he has. So that's the issue about the lost money. Let's discuss, or let's read the book. Please open the book, page 285.
Jurors disagree?
Yeah.
Bismillah. The jurors disagreed about those owners of wealth who are in debt and whose
The middle
debts-
and the middle.
and whose debts are greater than their wealth, or they cover an amount on which zakat can be levied, while they have in hand wealth on which zakat is due. A group of jurors said that there is no zakat on wealth, whether it is in the form of grain or something else, unless the debts are deducted from it.
So this is the opinion of one group. You deduct first the debt, and then you see what is left, and you pay the zakah.
If the remaining amount after payments of debts reaches the minimum amount which is subject to zakat, it is to be paid, otherwise not. This was the opinion of Thawri, Abu Thawr ibn al-Mubarak, and a group of jurists. Abu Hanifa and his disciples said that debts do not ward off zakat on grain, but they do prevent it on other kinds of wealth.
Why? Why Abu Hanifa rahimahullah differentiated? Because to him, and to other scholars also, grains do not have period of time. The moment you harvest, zakah is due. So, if you have debt in grains, still zakah is due. While other things, there is a nisab. So, there is no zakah. He says you wait for 1 year.
Malik said that debts prevent zakat on liquid assets alone, unless these include goods that can pay off the debt, in which case zakat is not prevented. A group of jurists maintained, in contrast to the first view, that debts do not prevent zakat at all. The reason for the disagreement again stems from their dispute on whether zakat is a form of worship or a right assessed on the wealth for the needy. Those who maintain that it is a right due to needy said that there is no zakat on wealth of a person who is burdened with debt, as the right of the creditor is prior, with respect to time, to the right of the needy.
Okay. Open the next page, 286. The last paragraph, before the last one, in this topic.
In this topic, there is also their dispute about zakat on fruit when the trees belong to a trust, and about the land held on a tenancy, as to who is liable for the zakat on the yield, whether it is owed by the landlord or the tenant.
See, that's the issue that we discussed. If these trees are leased, so who pays the zakah on them?
There is also their disagreement over kharaj, land, where it is transferred from those liable from kharaj to the Muslims, who are liable for ushr.
What is the issue of the kharaj? Again, kharaj is what the land produces. In the conquest of Khaybar, when the Prophet ﷺ opened Khaybar, the Jews were workers in the land. and they were experts. So they told the Prophet ﷺ, keep us maintaining the land instead of you take possession over it, and you may not be able to produce as much as we do. And we will pay you, or you will share us percentage on the land. So the Prophet ﷺ agreed. They keep on working in the land, so they are like workers for the Messenger ﷺ. And they take, let's say, 20%. So the 80% will go to who? To the Muslims, to the Messenger ﷺ. If that's the scenario, who pays the zakah? Who owns the land? The Muslims. Earlier you said the one who had the fruits, he is the one who will pay. They agreed, they are contractors. They take 20%.
So 80% belongs to the Muslims. Yeah. So then you don't pay zakat.
There's a difference between the two cases. In the first
Yeah, there is difference. Yeah, these are the issues. I'm just letting you know what are these issues. Okay, open the next page, 288. Sub-issue 1. And that's where we will stop, inshallah. This is the last issue that we discussed today. Sub-issue 1.
The issue deals with the problem where the owner sets aside zakat and it is lost. A group of jurists said that he is to be given credit for it.
So what does it mean if you're given credit for it? You don't have to pay it again as you just paid it.
Another group said that he is liable for it till he delivers it to
Until
its
it is delivered to the destination, you are liable.
A third group made a distinction between his setting it aside later than when it was possible to do so, and between.
So if you delayed it, you were able to pay the zakah and you did not, you are still liable. If you did your best, then it's just like the second opinion. You don't pay the zakah. You get a credit for it.
Some of these jurors said that if he sets it aside some days after the time at which the obligation arises and the possibility to do so, then he is liable. But if he sets it aside at the first moment obligation arises and there was no negligence on his part, he is not liable. This is a well-known opinion in Malik's school. A fourth group of the jurors said that if there was negligence on his part, he is to
Again, this is just similar. Negligence or delayment, it is almost the same. So 3 opinions are enough. And we'll stop here, inshallah.